While the whole world was waiting for the next round of talks, scheduled for June 2nd in the American capital, the Israelis continued to methodically expand their zone of occupation, destroying, completely leveling entire settlements as part of a scorched earth tactic. It is becoming obvious that the scenario of clearing the Gaza Strip is being almost fully replicated in Lebanon, with the establishment of large-scale occupational control and the forced displacement of the local population. 26 years after the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Lebanon, the blue and white flag is flying once again over the Crusader castle of Beaufort, which survived Saladin, the Mamluks, the Ottoman Empire, and the French Mandate.
Madam President, the situation in Lebanon is deeply alarming, marked by Israeli ground troops pushing further north into Lebanese territory and intensified Hezbollah attacks reaching deeper into Israel. On 31st May, Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, announced that he had ordered the Israel Defense Forces to deepen and expand their control over areas previously held by Hezbollah, declaring the capture of the historic Beaufort Castle. This followed Israeli advances north of the Litani River in the Yochmor Triangle. The Israel Defense Forces circulated images of an Israeli flag flying over the castle, evoking memories of Israel's occupation of southern Lebanon from 1982 until 2000, when the castle was used as an Israeli base. On 30th May, UNIFIL recorded 992 trajectories of projectiles fired by the Israel Defense Forces. This is the highest number since a cessation of hostilities came into effect on 17th April. Hezbollah has continued to launch dozens of rockets, anti-tank guided missiles and drones, including increasingly deadly fiber optic drones. It has also used surface-to-air missiles and improvised explosive devices against Israeli troops and assets inside Lebanese territory. 21 Lebanese armed forces personnel have been killed. 4 Israeli civilians and 26 Israel Defense Forces personnel have also been killed, with destruction and displacement affecting communities on both sides of the Blue Line. 6 UNIFIL peacekeepers have been killed and several wounded. Madam President, these developments mark a dangerous and alarming escalation, directly undermining the cessation of hostilities understanding announced by the United States on 16th April and eroding fragile diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation. They cast a long shadow over ongoing attempts to facilitate direct talks between Lebanon and Israel and risk derailing the already tenuous path towards a permanent ceasefire. Israel's presence north of the Blue Line is a clear violation of Lebanon's sovereignty and territorial integrity, as well as of Security Council Resolution 1701. Israeli forces must withdraw to south of the Blue Line. Hezbollah and other non-state armed groups in Lebanon must disarm and cooperate with government efforts to extend state security and assert a state monopoly over the use of force across the region. We note with concern today's reported statements from Tehran that in response to the situation in Lebanon, Iran will suspend dialogue with the United States, block the Strait of Hormuz, and activate other fronts. We must urgently redouble efforts to avert any further escalation. In this context, we welcome reports from a short time ago today that intense diplomatic efforts may be yielding results and averting further escalation.
Thank you, Madam President. France requested this emergency meeting in light of the major escalation underway and the deep expansion of Israeli military operations in Lebanon, despite the ceasefire that took effect on April 17th under the auspices of the United States. Madam President, let us recall from the outset, it is Hezbollah, backed by Iran, that bears responsibility for initiating hostilities, dragging Lebanon and the Lebanese people into a war that is not theirs. We have condemned this unequivocally, just as we condemn today Hezbollah's continued attacks targeting Israeli territory. We recognize Israel's right to defend itself against Hezbollah's attacks. However, nothing can justify the duration and scale of these military operations in Lebanon. The thousands of dead and wounded among the civilian population, the forced displacement of people, and its ever-deepening occupation of Lebanese territory. For Israel, this is a major strategic mistake. Furthermore, these operations run counter to the commitments Israel made on April 17th and to the resolutions of this Council. It is urgent that the weapons fall silent. This headlong rush took on a symbolic dimension yesterday by planting its flag on the Beaufort fortress, which served as its base during the occupation of southern Lebanon until 2000. Israel is returning to a period we hoped was over. History warns us. The same causes are highly likely to produce the same effects. Far from bringing security to Israel and its inhabitants, a new occupation risks only fueling instability. The establishment of a buffer zone. We do not accept evacuation orders, the ban on displaced populations returning home, and the destruction. This is the case for archaeological sites, particularly parts of the city of Tyre, which are in UNESCO's World Heritage List. No security consideration can justify a permanent assault on the sovereignty of a state. The ceasefire reached on April 17th between West Jerusalem and Beirut, mediated by Washington, has unfortunately turned out to be a smokescreen for creeping aggression against Lebanon. While the whole world was waiting for the next round of talks, scheduled for June 2nd in the American capital, the Israelis continued to methodically expand their zone of occupation, destroying, completely leveling entire settlements as part of a scorched earth tactic. It is becoming obvious that the scenario of clearing the Gaza Strip is being almost fully replicated in Lebanon, with the establishment of large-scale occupational control and the forced displacement of the local population. 26 years after the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Lebanon, the blue and white flag is flying once again over the Crusader castle of Beaufort, which survived Saladin, the Mamluks, the Ottoman Empire, and the French Mandate. We are confident that this castle, built in the 12th century and listed as a UNESCO-protected site, will also survive this latest Israeli occupation. While previously the Israeli side claimed it planned to limit the buffer zone to the Latni River, now West Jerusalem's ambitions extend to the Zarani River, and residents of Tyre and other major cities in the south are being urged to evacuate. We strongly condemn Israel's aggressive actions and reaffirm our firm commitment to the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence of Lebanon. We demand the immediate withdrawal of Israeli troops from Lebanese lands, without which it is impossible to achieve a genuine ceasefire.